Hey guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. We've got another Sanrenmu today. This Sanrenmu is an older knife, and you notice I'm saying mu instead of mu. When I started this channel saying it Sanrenmu. I do believe that's the right way to say it instead of mu. It's supposed to be mu, but yeah, who knows? I could be wrong. There you go. This is the MU-714. It's a sibling of a knife that I reviewed very recently. I'll show you that on the tabletop mode. Full flat grind, drop point, really nice belly, liner lock, micarta, orange or reddish, deep red and black micarta handle scales, steel body. The liners, stand out, and then you've got a small oval micarta pad there. Lanyard hole back here, no pocket clip. As I said when I first introduced this knife a while back, fairly comfortable in hand. My hand, I get 3 fingers and a little bit of my pinky to grab on. I've got large hands that border on extra large, between 10 and 11 on the European size. And I find this knife quite comfortable, sub 3 inches. So if you've got that restriction, this knife can work for you. It's not that easy to do in the left hand. There is a thumb stud here, but it's on one side only. Yeah, you can take it off, but the way that it's designed in there, you can't put it on the left side. As you can see, I can open it with my left hand using 2 fingers and then close it with my left hand. It's no fun to open it that way. It's actually easier to just grab it and go like that and use it. But yeah, I know. Us lefties have a really tough time in the knife industry because there's very few knives that are made to truly ambidextrously, and even less that are made specifically for left-handers. And so we have to learn how to be ambidextrous ourselves. And I do always challenge lefties to get on with it, start working, get yourself as used to using your right hand as possible, because that's how the world's made, and it's going to lower your risk of, accidentally doing something to hurt yourself because you have to use your right hand if you get more proficient with your right hand. So I really encourage you guys, grab your knives, play with them with your right hands. If you're really, really not used to it at all, take your knife, make it dull, one of your cheap knives, make them fairly dull, and then just play with it in your left hand, your right hand, I should say. That way you won't cut yourself, and you can get more used to how it's opening. And then once you get used to it, then sharpen up that knife, of course. But I think you guys are mostly right-handers, so you're not that interested in that. So why don't you just sit in your chair and stick around for the full review. Coming at you right now. There is, of course, a sense in which every Sanrenmu is a sibling of every other Sanrenmu. But what I meant was more of a knife that's very, very similar. So we've got these 2 knives, 714, 715. So we've got a slightly different shape piece of handle scale, but the liner behind it is very much the same, but it is different. Notice this is rounded down and this is sort of straight, and then it curves over. Other side, again, very similar. This guy's got the pocket clip on it. This is one model newer than this. So 714 was designed, and then 715 was designed, I suspect in that order. And they decided to add a pocket clip. And so that's what the pocket clip would look like if they put it on here. It almost seems like they could have put this exact pocket clip right on here if they just drill those 3 holes. I strongly suspect it would fit no problem. So it's very much the same size knife as well. This is a hollow grind, recurve, drop point with a swedge, and this is just a drop point with a full flat grind. So you can go back and check out this review if you want to. They still have some of these in stock at GearBest. At least I believe they do. And so this guy is what we have today. I like the colors on here. There used to be other colors available, maybe not at GearBest in recent years, but in the past they've made some other ones, one that's more yellowy and stuff. On this knife also, it says model number 714 right there on the ricasso. That's a little bit unusual. That's not done all that commonly on Sanrenmu knives. But there it is. And then up here is the logo. And that's all the writing that we have on this knife. Not bad. I kind of like that it's not all over the place and in your face. I prefer small writing. We've got a sharpness trail right in here. Some people call it a Spanish notch right there. I do like that so that when you're sharpening, it's protects you from getting into the plunge and, you know, just grinding up onto the plunge line. Helps keep everything looking really nice. So the blade coming back, it sort of doesn't at all look like a flipper that way, but when you close it, it looks like it had a bit of a flipper tab that becomes a bit of a guard right there. And that does help a little bit when you're holding it. Every little bit helps so that if you were to accidentally, you know, stop abruptly on something, preferably not a hand. Let's try something else for better imagery. If you were using the knife and then you abruptly came to a stop, you know, your hand won't slide over it and get to being cut. So it's a fair bit of protection that way from that happening. So every little bit out there helps. We've got, just like the other one, we've got hex screws, also known as Allen screws, all over the place. And you can see the detent ball here. Often you can't see it on the outside of knives, but on a lot of the older Sanrenmus, you can see it. Makes it really easy to add just a drop of really light oil on there so that the ball will slide nicely over the blade. Steel, 8CR14 MOV is what most of the websites that sell this say. I suspect it's probably 8CR13, but those two steels are very similar, not a big deal. Nice grind. The grind's fairly even all the way along the blade. This edge, good and sharp still. And let's talk about all the sizes. Let's zoom in for that. The cutting edge and the blade length are the same, 6.53 centimeters, 2.57 inches. The blade thickness, 2.3 millimeters, that's 0.0905 inches. The blade depth is 2.23 centimeters, which is 0.0879 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is 0.52 millimeters. That's 0.0205 inches. And that's very much almost exactly what I like to see. I like to see 0.5 millimeter. And talking about the handle now, the handle length, and this is the steel, not the micarta scale there. The handle length is 9.21 centimeters, 3.63 inches. The grip area inside here is 7.62 centimeters, that's 3 inches. The handle thickness is 1.3 centimeters, that's 0.514 inches, just over 1/2 inch. And the handle depth, the widest spot is right there, 2.23 centimeters, 0.914 inches. Total length of the knife open is 15.9 centimeters, which is just over 6¼ inches. How much does this guy weigh? This little guy is 77 grams, 2.7 ounces. For me, that's just a little bit too big to turn this into a keychain knife. But for some of you, that might be just perfect. You just put a little key split ring over here and hang it on your keychain. I've seen a lot of guys with bigger things than this dangling from their keychain, so I'm sure there's some of you who'd like that. This knife is very comfortable in hand. It does have 2 nylon washers, which means I had to lube it just a little bit for it to flick out really well. And I do have to give it just a little bit of English, a little bit of a flick on the wrist to make it fly open consistently. See, there you go. That time it didn't quite get all the way to the lock position. And this is a little bit older nylon washers in there. I probably will take it apart at some point. And, well, actually, I have not taken it completely apart at all yet. I will take it apart, take pictures of the inside. You're going to see that right now. This part of the video is recorded after the rest, after I finished it. I forgot to mention blade centering before. It's perfect. Very, very good. So what I did was I took it apart, lubricated everything, cleaned it all up nicely, and changed this washer, or changed the pivot screw where it had the screw end on this side, which is the show side, and I put the screw end on this side. So the show side has got the nice blank thing there. And now watch this. No body language, no twisting of the wrist needed, and there's no blade play side to side. It's nice and snug, and it flips open very super easily. If you are new to the knife hobby, you really do need to get up that skill of taking knives apart and putting them back together again, because very often you can get them to perform a whole lot better, especially if they are budget knives. So get some cheap knives, get a bunch of Sanrenmu knives that cost less than 10 bucks each, talking US dollars. And that way you're not risking much at all when you take it apart. And start with the simple ones, these liner lock and frame lock ones. The axis lock ones are somewhat trickier to work with, to take apart and put back together. Back lock knives, they can be a real pain in the butt because sometimes there's tension on it. And when you put it back together, it has to be just so. If you're learning how to take knives apart and putting them back together, do maintenance and stuff, start with liner lock or frame lock knives, and take them apart, take pictures of the process so that you can go back and look at those pictures again to see how to put it back together again if you need to. Back to the previously recorded part of the video. So, smooth everywhere. You've got, just rounded over edges everywhere except for on that edge. Even right here on the spine, it's not squared off, it's slightly rounded, which makes it very comfortable in the hand. You put your thumb up there and it's comfortable to give, extra push when you're cutting through something. It's a really good size EDC if you're restricted to under 3-inch knives. Comfortable in the hand, doesn't weigh an awful lot, and it works quite well. I do like full flat grinds. They do things like cutting apples and oranges in your lunch or whatever better than other grinds do. And this knife has the thumb stud far enough back so that when you're slicing through something, it doesn't catch on there. That's a good thing. Let's do a little bit of cut tests and show you how well the cutting edge is from the factory. You can hear that it's not perfect. You've got a little bit of, skipping around while it's going through. And that's what the cutting edge from the factory is like on most Sanrenmus, especially the ones that are a little bit older. I like that the lanyard hole is way at the back so that if you do use it, it doesn't bunch up in your hand, the lanyard. I don't generally use lanyards. I just use it the way it is. Pocket clip, I already talked about that. There is none. So this is just a pocket dropper for me. That's what I call it when I just, drop it in my pocket. And then I dig into my pocket and pull it out when I need it. And you can hold it in a number of different ways. It's very easy to grip it this way. And you get a good sure grip. If I turn it around, you can see how it's in my hand all the way up to there. And that end's protected right there. Put your thumb over the end and you've got a really solid little knife in your hand. You can't go much smaller than this to be able to do that. This kind of grip is very unusual. Not many people use it. Pinch grip, if you want to do some delicate cutting and you need some strength behind it. That's 3 fingers back here and then your index and your thumb over there. Pretty much any kind of grip that you need to do. Some delicate cutting this way with your finger controlled that way to do some sort of filleting style cutting. So there you go. I like this knife. I recommend this knife. It's a nice knife. Thank you for watching, for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, ask your questions. And I'm going to be doing a sale on folding knives this weekend. The sale will be on the 16th or the 17th of February 2018. I need to sell some of my knives so I can make some more money so I can buy some more knives to review. And that's what we're doing. So thank you very much, guys. Remember, always cut towards your chum and not right here on your index finger. Bye now.